I have something to confess. I buy too many games. At this point, I'm basically a collector, not a gamer, but this upcoming year, I'm going to change that. Now, buying too many games by itself isn't the issue. There's nothing wrong with taking advantage of a good sale or buying a game you love. The problem is when you don't finish a lot of those games, and the bigger problem, the one I'm guilty of, is when you don't even start them. I mean, the whole point of buying a game is to actually play it, right? I'm not in the business of handing out charity to game publishers, at least not on purpose. But boy, have I done exactly that. I've fallen into this trap of grabbing games, mostly on sale, so I'll give myself a little credit. I rarely buy brand new releases because, well, for one, I now have this huge backlog of games to play and enough sense to know I shouldn't spend 60, 70, or apparently nowadays $80 when I could buy Red Dead 2 for 14. But the danger of buying game after game on sale, especially around this time of year, is that you wake up one day and realize you've built a backlog that's, not massive, but definitely intimidating. These are games I want to play. I didn't buy them to sit on the shelf behind me blurred out in the background of a YouTube video. Unfortunately, companies have this bad habit of releasing new games I also want to play, and those eventually go on sale too. Yes, even Nintendo games once in a while. So now, I don't just have a backlog of games I own but haven't played, I have a backlog of games I want to play but haven't bought yet. And that to be played list is growing way faster than the actually played list. It also doesn't help that I've betrayed the purity of physical collecting and started buying digitally too. But listen, they have some ridiculously good sales sometimes. To be honest, it kind of sucks feeling like I don't have the discipline to finish games anymore. Maybe it's my attention span. Maybe I have too many hobbies. Maybe I'm just getting older. It's not like I don't want to play games. When I do play, I enjoy the hell out of it. I just can't always bring myself to sit down and start, even when I know I'll like the game. I want to force myself to sit down and play for hours like I used to, but every time I get that opportunity, I start making excuses. I need to clean, change my oil, cut my hair, work on that video. Or the kids are home and suddenly Let's Go Pikachu has turned into Animal Crossing. Like, why are you walking all the way back to Pallet Town from Vermilion City? That's not how you play the game. And even when I do sit down with the full intent to play, it's like an hour tops before I find some reason to save and quit. If you've ever looked at your backlog and felt guilty, you're not alone. A lot of us are in this weird spot where we love games but struggle to play them. The real problem, as much as I loved console gaming as a kid, I just couldn't play console games anymore. But that didn't stop me from buying them. I mean, how could I resist a deal? I didn't even want a PlayStation 4. I hadn't owned a PlayStation since my PSP in 2006. I missed the entire PS3 era, but then that $200 Spider-Man 4 bundle showed up looking at me like, hey buddy, buy me, you know you want to. And back when Black Friday was still on, Friday, I refreshed Walmart, GameStop, and Target like a man possessed until I snagged it. Sure, it wasn't a PS4 Pro, but I didn't even have a 4K TV. What did I care? Spider-Man was just the beginning. I started buying games, then I stopped finishing games, then I stopped starting games. But I never stopped buying them. Then I bought a Switch, and of course, more games, because that's not a system hurting for games. I missed most of the 8th console generation, so when I finally jumped in, the stores were basically giving games away. I'm talking buy 4 for $20 Black Friday type deals. That's how I started buying games from the PS4 and Xbox One era. But then I'd play maybe one of those games by the time the next Black Friday rolled around. And yes, then there was another round of great deals to fill the coffers. And next thing you know, I've got 15 games sitting there wondering just when I'm going to play them. At this rate, I don't even need a PS5, and apparently no one needs an Xbox Series, whatever they're calling it. But then the PS5 Pro went on sale this year for $650, and I started justifying buying it. Like, yeah, think of all the PS5 games and upscaled, remastered PS4 and PS3 games I could play. That's when I realized, oh no, I have a problem. Discovering retro handhelds and emulators was a big mistake as well, because suddenly the backlog of the entire history of video games was at my fingertips. I scroll through a list, see something cool that I've never played, that I've always wanted to play, or even games I've never heard of, hit download, forget about it, download something else, and before I know it, I have dozens of games I genuinely want to play, and dozens more I don't own yet but want. Games like Skyrim, Oblivion, Fallout. Damn you, Bethesda. I'm definitely not beating games at the same rate I'm buying them. And that's the real issue because I want to play more games. I want to finish more games. I want to experience the stories and the mechanics and the feeling games give you when you let them take over just a little part of your mind, when they occupy that little spot back there. So when you have a quiet moment, they pop into your conscious thoughts and pull you right back into their world. It's what used to happen far more often when I was younger. I'd constantly think about what I was doing or where I was going when playing games like Halo, Vice City, Ocarina of Time. They lived in my head rent free. I'd let myself dive into those worlds and fully appreciate them for what they were. Now, nothing really sticks quite the same way. And honestly, that does make me a little sad. Now I'm far more reserved on that end. It's almost like I put up a barrier to prevent that from happening now, either out of fear that I'd be labeled a compulsive gamer or because I have so many other things fighting for that precious mental bandwidth. And right now, games are on the losing end. So, what's a guy like me to do? I guess the first step is being intentional with my gaming. Honestly, this channel has helped. I've played more games this year than in the last few years combined. Part of that's because I've moved away from playing home consoles to playing handhelds. Thankfully, this doesn't mean I've stopped playing home console games because, well, quite frankly, handhelds these days can play those games as well. What it does mean is that I spent a good amount of time playing a bunch of old games I played long ago, and games I missed when I was younger and they were new. And I found the way to play that helps me connect with games the way I currently can best. And that's been the best way to actually do what I've always wanted to do: play games and finish them. And now that I'm in this groove, so to speak, I just need to use that momentum to continue chipping away at that backlog, because sometimes life just distracts us. Sometimes we bounce between hobbies, sometimes we get obsessed with something else for a while. I've had seasons where I binged comics, mostly Batman, seasons where I read entire Brandon Sanderson novels in a weekend, seasons where I pick up new hobbies out of nowhere, like a side quest with no gold at the end just to experience points. Like, I know how to micro solder. Okay, great. That comes in handy once every like 6 months. But no matter how many distractions come at me, games always pull me back. And now that they have, I just need to maximize that time before something else distracts me. Learn Japanese in 2 years? Let's go! Right now, it's all about convenience and reconnecting with the hobby I love, which is why I want to take some time to actually focus on games. I've been considering doing a December challenge. In October, I did a walking challenge with my family and managed to actually walk more steps than I probably ever do. No, it wasn't over 10,000 steps a day. It was close, but I did walk more because I was intentional about it. So now that I know what works for me, I need a plan. So in an effort to finish more games, I'm going to be intentional about playing more games, or, well, not necessarily more games. I'm already in the middle of like 4 games at the moment. Instead, I want to be more intentional about playing games more in an effort to make progress on this backlog I have. To that end, I'm going to play a game I never actually completed, A Link Between Worlds. I don't really remember how far I got before losing focus and moving on to something else, but I love The Legend of Zelda, and I can't think of a better way to kick off this upcoming year of actually completing games than to do so with one of my favorite franchises on one of my favorite handhelds. I'm hoping that by feeding this momentum of handheld gaming, I can eventually work myself back up to tackle the console games that are just sitting behind me, staring me down, and I can finally rid myself of my purchased backlog. Then I won't feel bad about buying more games again. I'd love to hear what struggles you have completing your backlog and what, if anything at all, you intend to do to help chip away at all the games you've bought. I always find it so motivating to hear from others with similar struggles, and I hope in turn this can motivate you as well. Because if you're sitting on a pile of games you started and stopped or meant to play but never did, maybe all you have to do is pick one and just start. Your backlog doesn't need a miracle for you to finish it, it just needs you to start. And for me, that starts with A Link Between Worlds.